Imagine a solitary stone, heavy and cold, held by fingers that hesitate before throwing it into the lake. When it touches the surface, it breaks the water mirror and sinks, disappearing, leaving only soft circles that slowly expand until they touch the shore, taking the water to places that were previously untouched. Such are our mistakes. At first impact, they seem to pull us down, like a stone sinking into the dark silence. Each fall brings a sense of profound failure, a tide of sadness and regret, as if we are sinking deeper and deeper into ourselves. But if we look closely, we see that initial moment, that shock that seems to only bring pain, actually initiates something bigger, something beyond what we can immediately see. The waves created by our mistakes reverberate, touching every corner of our being. They touch our courage, our patience, shaping our character and teaching us that true growth comes from failures, from the cracks that allow light to enter. The waves, when expanding, transform everything they touch. Each mistake opens up a new space, brings a new layer of experience, strength, and understanding. Each circle of learning joins the next until the lake of our lives is filled with a complex web of lessons, resilience, and self-knowledge. So the next time you feel the weight of falling, remember the rock in the lake. She doesn't sink in vain. She creates waves of transformation, whispering that even in pain, there is beauty, and that even in falling, there is a path that leads us forward. Failure sometimes wears a cloak of a cruel enemy, a silent judgment that seems to whisper our weaknesses in a merciless way. He arrives without warning, and the pain of the fall burns like an intense flame, burning our certainties, destroying the safe ground we thought we had under our feet. But what if, behind that dark mask, failure was a patient master, that unexpected teacher we never asked for but so desperately need? In the pain of falling, there is a hidden wisdom that only reveals itself to those who dare to look beyond appearances. Failure forces us to face the mirror of ourselves, showing what we hide from everyone, our insecurities, our fears, our weaknesses. But it also, and paradoxically, reveals to us the depth of our strength and the resilience that we were unaware we possessed. It forces us to slow down, to retrace our steps, to ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? Each defeat, each loss, is like a seed that needs the darkness of the earth to germinate. And failure is this fertile soil, where, although the land seems cold and sterile, lessons sprout that shape us in a unique way. He teaches us humility, remembering that we are eternal learners. It shows us the value of persistence, because it is in getting up that we discover new strength. It reminds us, above all, that growing up hurts, but that this pain is temporary, while the lessons are eternal. When failure becomes master, it doesn't give us medals or applause. Instead, he offers us something much more valuable, an inner compass, a voice that whispers through the chaos, telling us that pain is a path, not a destination. So, when you fall, accept the hard hand of failure. Let yourself be shaped by its lessons. For in the end, you will realize that every scar is a trace of wisdom. Every mark is a testimony that you dared, learned, and above all, became stronger. Adam felt the weight of his dreams was too great to carry. With each attempt, his steps became more faltering, his courage more rarefied. When the fear of failing for the 1,000th time became unbearable, he decided to do something he had never imagined. He left everything behind and headed for the mountains, heading to a temple where it was said that the wise men taught how to face what is darkest inside. Of us, the journey there was long, lonely, almost a test imposed by nature itself. The air grew colder and thinner as he climbed, and Adam felt his heart beat faster. But this time, it wasn't just fear. It was a vague, almost forgotten hope that perhaps I would find answers. Upon arriving at the temple, he was greeted with a profound, almost absolute silence. It was as if the mountains themselves challenged him to confront what he feared without any distractions. High above, enveloped by clouds and the biting wind, Adam sat on a carpet of stones and closed his eyes, seeking some peace in the stillness around him. At the temple, he met Jean, the monk who had watched him in silence for days. On their first date, Adam didn't know what to say. He wanted to unburden himself, talk about every failure, every fall that followed him like shadows. But Jean just watched, his eyes calm, as if he knew Adam's fear was just a passing cloud, unable to hide the mountain he truly was. To overcome fear, you need to listen to it, Jean finally said, his tone soft but firm. Have you realized what he wants to teach you? Adam was silent. He had never thought of fear as a teacher. For him, fear had always been a barrier, an invisible enemy. For weeks, Adam remained in the temple, confronting his darkest thoughts, questioning his certainties, understanding that fear was not a sentence, but a guide that led him to his own growth. In the silence of the mountains, he discovered that fear was, in fact, the space where his courage could expand, where his inner strength took shape. When he came back down, Adam was no longer the same. He carried the same heart, but now it beat with the conviction of someone who had faced the abyss within and found purpose there. The mountains, the wind, and the silence had taught him that fear, when heard, turns into wisdom, and that sometimes you have to face silence to hear what courage has to say. Every time we fall, we feel as if something inside us is breaking, as if the courage we had left is crumbling, scattering into invisible pieces that only we can see. It's a pain that weighs heavily, a sadness that sits silently, whispering that perhaps it's safer to stay on the ground. But still, something inexplicable drives us to try once again, to rise above our own ruins, to face what previously seemed invincible. This invisible strength, which makes us rise even when we are broken, is not easy to explain, because it does not come from a single victory, but from the accumulation of all defeats. It is built with the weight of disappointments, with the echoes of mistakes, and with the scars that we collect along the way. Every time we fall, and yet we get up, it grows stronger, taking root in our soul like a tree that grows slowly but unshakably. Throughout life, we learn that the act of getting up after each fall reveals who we really are, shaping us with the persistence of those who are no longer afraid of failing. And it is in this insistence that we discover something that cannot be seen, but that can be felt, an internal power that reminds us that we are stronger than any stumble. When we look back at all the times we thought about giving up and still kept going, we realize that this silent strength is the greatest achievement of all. She makes us understand that falling is not the end, but part of a journey towards a more resilient and true version of ourselves. It is the testimony that, despite the pain and doubts, we are able to get up and continue, always a little stronger, always a little wiser. May, in the end, we see that true strength is invisible, and that it reveals itself only to those who dare to rise once again. Fear, that feeling that holds us back and paralyzes us, sometimes seems like a strict guardian, a shadow that tries to convince us not to move forward. He whispers in our ears, showing all the risks, the possible downfalls, the scenarios where everything could go wrong. But if we look closer, we will realize that fear holds a precious secret, a truth forgotten in the failures we have already experienced. Every failure, every mistake, is an invitation to understand that courage is not born from the absence of fear, but from its acceptance. True courage is the one that blooms in the cracks, in the moments of doubt, in the moments when our hearts falter. It's a silent spark that appears when we decide, despite everything, to take a step forward. Failures, which we tend to avoid at all costs, are camouflage masters. They reveal to us the strength we have to resist, the resilience to try again, the power to transform fear into movement. When we fall and have to get up, we discover that courage is not a gift granted to the strong, but a choice, a strength that arises when we recognize our vulnerability and still decide to follow. There is a secret that fear hides, a secret that it protects like a valuable jewel. Only by facing it, by going through it, do we find the truest version of ourselves. Every failure, every fall, every time we stumble and get up, draws in us the courage of those who no longer fear, but embrace it as part of the path. It is the courage that emerges from the ashes of what we once were, revealing that, deep down, fear was never an enemy, but rather an essential step on the journey towards a more authentic and fulfilling life. And you, what challenge could become your new source of growth? Comment below sharing your experience. This is a space where we can all support and learn from each other. Today we explore how, by embracing self-knowledge, it is possible to transform even the greatest challenges into strengths that shape us and prepare us for a fuller life. We saw that the protagonist, when facing his own shadows, found in each obstacle a lesson in strength and resilience. May this journey be an invitation for each of us to look within and transform difficulties into steps of growth. Think about a challenge you have faced, something that brings insecurity or discomfort. How can this experience become a source of strength? Comment below sharing your experience. This is a space where we can all support and learn from each other. If this reflection brought inspiration to your journey, like the video, share it with someone who needs this message, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thus, we will continue together at each step of this journey of self-knowledge. For those who want to go even deeper, we offer an ebook with simple, daily practices that help you find peace and clarity. You will find the link in the first pinned comment. To continue this journey, we have 2 recommended videos on screen. They explore more lessons about courage and self-discovery, and will help you expand your self-knowledge practice even further. See you there.